Good morning, everyone. I'm Braden. I'm president of the Sun City Democrats, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you all this morning. Thank you all so very much for coming on behalf of the Democrats. Thank you to Pat Prudhomme and Phyllis Vogel for our refreshments. Thank you to George Wagner, who always makes our coffee ready for us when we're here. And you may help yourself to refreshments at any time, but please don't chat while you're doing it so that we don't interrupt the forum. Okay, so I want to thank our candidates, Karen Carter and Braden candidates for the county chair, and their campaign managers, Terry Cook and Jessica Stemko. Now I'd like to introduce Jody Salyers. Also like to thank Jody and Phyllis for putting this together. They're our forum coordinators, and they're with the Sun City Elections Committee members as well. Yay. Here's Jody.
Thank you, Mary Ann. I'm going to explain the process here, and it's also in your handout, and it's fairly complicated, so if you get confused, I understand. This timing cable down front here with Lynn and was Lynn Mann and was going to be Dwayne. You might want to grab somebody else to help you because it is a two-man team. They have paddles that say 1 minute, which is yellow, 30 seconds, which is orange, and red, which means you're out of time and Lynn's going to get her hook. Questions are going to be handled this way. We have received prior emails with questions on them. And then after that, we are going to take questions from the audience written on 3x5 cards that we'll be passing out. The cards and pencils will be passed out by Jerry Covey and Mary Ann Frieden, and they'll then be brought to the question table, which is being manned by Phyllis Vogel and Sharon Covey. They will check them for duplications because we can't imagine you coming up with a new question, but go for it anyway. Then we'll bring those questions over and add them as long as time permits. We've been advised by a Democratic Party official that when someone is running against an incumbent, the challenger speaks first. So we're going to begin the forum with a 3-minute opening statement from Braden Frame, and then Karen Carter will follow. After opening statements, the candidates will answer questions in alternating order. And I just figured out this morning that alternating order would mean that Braden goes first every time. So I'm going to vary that a little bit to make sure Karen answers some first and vice versa. The closing statement will be in reverse order, and Karen will go first. We'd like for candidates to please not interrupt the person speaking or try to rebut. It's a forum and not a debate. However, if you jot down any remarks you would like to make and include them in your closing statements. Are there any questions about that? Then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Braden Frame.
Good morning, everyone. Ooh, that is loud. Well, before I begin, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming out, and I especially want to recognize the Sun City Democrats, Jody and her team, for organizing this. Y'all have done an amazing job, and I know, not to speak for Karen, but I know that both of us are truly grateful to have this opportunity to speak to you this morning. You know, considering that y'all have 200 to 300 members, active and energized, once a month at y'all's meetings, it kind of makes me feel like the 60 to 90 who show up at our WCDP events and happy hour. We're just trailing behind, wanting to be like you guys. Y'all know what you're doing. You guys are known across the county as the premier Democratic organization. Y'all do a great job of getting your members involved. And we all know, every campaign manager knows, every candidate knows that when we need help, when we need activists, when we need action, we call Sun City. And you guys always deliver. I also want to take a moment to thank Wendy Davis and the tens of thousands of Texans who stood up last summer in the fight against HB2. Because without Wendy, 2014 would feel a whole lot different. But thanks to her, we have an opportunity for change this year. You know, 2010 was a tough year for Texas Democrats, and 2012 was a little bit harder for us here in Williamson County. But because of Wendy, because of Letitia, and because of the top of our ticket, because of candidates like Louie and John and Tom and Joel and Chris, 2014 sure seems to feel a lot more like 2008 to me. I was actively involved in the coordinated campaign in 2008. I worked as the communications director during the 2010 coordinated campaign. I know what it feels like to seize opportunity, and I know what it feels like to squander opportunity. The past cannot be our blueprint for tomorrow. And I'm running because we have hard work to do, and we need smart leaders who are ready to play ball better, to change the way that we do business here in the WCDP. For far too long, it's felt like an echo chamber here, where the answer is, well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, that's not a plan to win elections. Wendy knows that, and that's why I'm running. I've been endorsed by a highly diverse group of Democratic organizations and professionals, Democratic leaders from across the state, who understand, trust, and know my proven campaign experience and ability to lead. And I hope that this morning that we all have the chance to talk about my plan, that you all have a chance to get to know me a little better and understand why I believe that I'm the best choice to lead this party. Thank you all so much this morning.
Thank you. Like Braden, I want to thank the Sun City Democrats for arranging for all of this, and I'm very much appreciative of the fact that our audience got up to be here at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Thanks a lot. My name is Karen Carter, and I'm your county chair. I have been your county chair for 2 years, and I'm hoping that you're going to put me back in that position again. I've been involved in politics for a long time. My initial involvement in Democratic Party politics began in the turbulent 60s and 70s. In 67 and 68, I worked on the Eugene McCarthy campaign, and I attended the contentious 1968 Democratic National Convention as a CBS aide because I wasn't old enough to vote yet and couldn't be a delegate. In 71 and 72, I worked on Joe Biden's campaign for U.S. Senate. 72 was the first year I was old enough to vote, and I voted for Biden in his very first run for office. Throughout my college years, I was a political activist and campus leader agitating for societal change. I organized sit-ins and political forums. I wrote for an underground newspaper that promoted social justice. We were young, and we planned to eliminate racism, abolish sexism, achieve civil rights for the LGBT community, end the Vietnam War, and terminate economic injustice. Change did not happen as quickly as we anticipated. Substitute the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan for the Vietnam War, and 40 years later, I'm still intensely engaged in working toward achieving these goals and making these issues that I just mentioned fact, done with. We're working on it. I have a PhD in political and organizational communication from UT. For almost 25 years, I taught university courses, and among them were political campaigns, political rhetoric, political movements, negotiation, and organizational communication. In May, I will have been a leader in the Williamson County Democratic Party for 8 years. From 2006 to 2011, I was the precincts chair. From 2008 to 2011, I simultaneously was the party secretary. From 2011 to the present, I have been the county chair. 3 county chairs that preceded me appointed me as the liaison to the elections department, and I personally have recruited hundreds of people to work at our polls, and I see quite a few of you out there. Over time, I've served as a member of every WCDP committee, and I chaired the communication committee and the ad hoc committee to recruit precinct chairs. Since becoming the county chair, I have attended 90% of all the committee meetings held in our county. Under my leadership, the EC, our wonderful Democratic activists, and I have grown our party's base. Our monthly meetings have been increased by 150%. Attendance, is that a stop? Oh, we'll get to the more as the day goes on.
Thank you, Braden and Karen. And now we're going to get to the question portion. They're organized and sort of organized into background, qualifications, experience with the Democratic Party, and plans for the future. So, and they do only have 3 minutes, and so we've suggested they get to their point right away and then elaborate later, so they're not just getting to their point and they get timed out, kind of like Karen did. So the first question, and this time I'm gonna start with Braden, and it is, why do you want to be the county chair?
That's a great question. You know, I've been preparing to be county chair for years, and I've made my home here in Williamson County. I bought my home a number of years ago, and as soon as I got here, I was scooped up by the Clinton campaign early in the primary and became the Williamson County representative for the primary. We went through that race, and I was immediately hired on as the campaign manager for Jamie Lynn's run for county attorney in 2008. And as many of y'all may remember, we gave them a run for their money. We turned out more votes than any countywide candidate has ever gotten since then or previously. In my 4 months with Jamie, I raised over $40,000 for his campaign, besting previous WCDP fundraising records for the county party and most any other countywide candidate, previous to them and since then. In the last few years, I've taken a break from the WCDP and I've become heavily involved in my labor union. I have been greatly blessed to become a professional firefighter. It is a dream come true, and I'm active and involved in my local labor union. And I've been fighting for the rights of firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs for the last few years, recognized by the state association and sent to Washington, D.C. to be trained by the best in the business to run political campaigns. 2014 is our opportunity. It's not 2012. We need to learn from those mistakes. It's not 2010. We have greater opportunity. And when I look at where we're at as a party here in 2014, I don't want to see us make the same mistakes as yesterday. We can't judge our successes by likes on Facebook or the same 60 people at every happy hour. We need to judge ourselves in the way that Battleground Texas judges themselves. They showed up 8 months ago and have made more phone calls, reached more voters, and had more activity than we've seen in years. I don't want us to make those same mistakes moving forward. So when I look to run, I come to you with a plan that has leadership at the top, that has fundraising as our primary goal. I'm not willing to settle that we don't have paid staff. I want to fundraise to make sure that we run a professional campaign operation. And so when I talk to y'all today about my plan and my vision, it comes from the heart. It comes from somebody who's ready to make the full-time commitment to each one of you to work tirelessly every day, just as I did for Jamie, just as I did for Carl when we got him elected, just as I did for Patty when we won her election. And I'm asking you to put your trust in me to help bring us to the top and win here in 2014. Thank you.
Why do you want to be the county chair? And before you get started, I would just like to say Jerry Covey is going to walk through the room. So if you would like a 3x5 card and pencil, just raise your hand. Okay, sorry, Ms. Karen.
I am running for the county chair because I think I've been darn good at being your county chair. And I have to say that I think that the denigrating comments that the same 60 people keep coming to our happy hours is misleading. We move all around the county. We have new people every single time. We have different people every single time. We are building a fellowship in Williamson County, and one of the places that we do that most effectively is at our happy hours. I believe that the evidence that we have built our base is I hate talking publicly. That we have built our bases in the increase in our attendance at our party meetings. I have instituted a guest speaker at every one of our monthly meetings, which has been critical for making sure that people in our county party are familiar with the people who are our leaders and the issues that are important. We are currently set to hire the person who's going to be the professional coordinator for the Williamson County's candidates for their coordinated campaign. And we are, oh heck. The coordinated campaign is going to require us to be involved communicating. We've got 9 candidates this time. That's the most candidates that we have had running for local elections, for county elections, since the late 1990s. And we need to have an effective coordinated campaign to make that happen. But perhaps the most exciting thing that's occurring right now is our future plans is the campaign school that we're developing for the candidates here in Williamson County. We've begun lining up experts to teach the best practices for campaign fundraising, conducting opposition research, developing effective messages, speaking in public with the media, gaining unpaid media coverage, and organizing block walks, phone banking to register Democratic voters and get out the vote. 2014 is going to be our best coordinated campaign ever, and I have set up the basis to make sure that that happens. I think that the most important job of the county chair is to build the base and to communicate. We have so many tentacles that are involved. We need to be involved with the state party. We need to be involved with Battleground Texas and the excellent job they're doing to get out the vote by registering voters and ultimately to get out the vote. And I would like to say that if we do not communicate effectively with county chairs that share our candidates, that we...
Thank you, Karen. Actually, this next question may give you a chance to finish, because I think you both already answered this question quite well. It is, what in your background and education makes you qualified to be county chair? And go ahead, Karen.
Okay, as I mentioned in my first part of my intro, I have been involved in politics for a long time. I spent almost 25 years teaching other people how to be involved in politics. I have applied those things that I've learned to our county chair, to my role as county chair in the last 2 years. The thing that I have done, I think that is most important, is to pull things together. We are a united county now. We are a united Democratic Party. We're united with our nearby counties that are sharing our candidates. We are united with the Texas Democratic Party. I attend all of the Texas Democratic Party Executive Committee meetings. I attend all of the Texas Democratic County Chairs Association meetings. I make sure that everybody knows who Williamson County is and that they know what we're doing. And it's an easy job because we're knocking them out of the ballpark. We are held up as an example by the state party to other counties. Our strategic plan was so good that not only the state party, but the County Chairs Association are sharing it with counties that are having difficulty figuring out how to organize their precincts, how to get their county parties moving, how to get people involved. We know how to do that. We have people at every festival, at every parade. We are raising the visibility of our brand, and we're doing a dang good job. We are increasing the participation at all of the events the county is bringing on. We consulted with 3 professionals to put together our finance plan, our fundraising plan. We are on target to raise more funds for the Williamson County Democratic Party than has ever been raised before. And if you are good at talking on the phone, we'd like you to talk to us. If you like how we've progressed in the last 2 years, then I encourage you to stick with Karen. I have the training academically, I have the training through experience, and I have the commitment and time and energy to commit to this party and to keep us moving forward and to elect our local candidates while we're also working to elect our great slate that we have from the top down.
Thanks, Karen. Braden, do you have something to add to that as well?
Well, you give me 3 minutes.
I will, yeah.
You know, when I look at the role of chair, one of, I think, the differences between me and Karen, and it's just a difference, is that I don't look at this as an exercise in academia. I look at this as an opportunity to engage in proven political techniques that help get people elected. And that's what I've done. I'm the only one up here who can say that I've run a campaign and elected a Democrat in Williamson County. Twice. And in doing so, that has gained me the support of Democratic leaders from the Deputy Director of the TDP down to the man who found us, Wendy Davis, and brought us Diana Maldonado and was our greatest benefactor, all the way through to leaders from labor organizations and Democratic leaders from within our own party. In preparing for this job and talking about qualifications and experience, one of the things that I think it's really important that we think about is, what is the message of the WCDP? And I've been here for a long time, and I've asked this to a lot of people. I've been talking to people for months now. People have been contacting me from the website. What's our message? Why do we exist? First answer I always hear is, we're here to elect Democrats. Well, to use a young man's phrase, duh. But here's the question. Is that a message, or is that just a goal? We're here to support our candidates. Okay? Is that a message, or is that a goal? What qualifies me is the fact that I have a proven technique to put together a message that is effective, that's concise, that's engaging, that brings a call to action. I look at the WCDP as the foundation in the fight for our progressive values, to fight for gender equality, to fight for equal pay for equal work, to fight for marriage equality, to make sure that any 2 people who love each other are recognized equally under the law, to fight to raise the minimum wage, to fight to do the things that are why we vote. And when it comes to a campaign academy, I've been to the best, I've been trained by the best in the business, and I've already met with all of the candidates earlier this year and put on a campaign academy and talked to them and helped them answer the key questions that they already need the answers for. How do I fill out my personal financial statement? Where do I file my reports? Who should I be talking to right now? Putting on a campaign academy in a few months is too late. And that's why I'm running for office, because we aren't proactive. We need to be ahead of the game. We need to be ready right now for 2014. And unfortunately, we're not. And we need to be thinking about 2016 already. And that's why I'm running.
We're going to delve into the qualifications now a little bit more. And I can vouch for the fact that the county chair is expected to attend Texas Democratic Party, SD5 state and regional county chair meetings, Williamson County Democrats meetings, all Democratic conventions in the state, from precinct, county to state, as well as Sun City Democrats meetings. Will you be able to commit the time required?
Absolutely. Let me go back to this. I have the greatest job in the world.
And a lot of people say that they love their job, but let me be honest, being a firefighter, being able to go inside of buildings that are on fire, being able to help people who are in cardiac arrest, being able to be there on people's worst day of their lives is the greatest job in the world. It's rewarding, it's exciting, it's different. I've lost 20 pounds. I mean, it's as good as it gets. But you know what one of the best things about my job as a firefighter is? I work 10 days a month. Just 10 days. And whenever I need time off, I'm joined by an armada of Democrats, many who live in Williamson County, who are firefighters, who fight with me on pro-labor battles, and I talked to them before I ran for this office. And I said, I need a day off. Will you do a trade with me? Will you give me the time off that I need to fulfill a full-time commitment to help elect Democrats, to help fundraise for Democrats, to change the way we do business in Williamson County? Every single one of them said, absolutely, I'll be there for you. I'm very fortunate in my job to have an onslaught of time. And it's a wonderful thing. But when it comes to being county chair, Jody, I gotta say, it's not about attending meetings. I have to. Karen does. Richard did, Patty did, Jimmy did. Every chair went to all the meetings. They were all members of the County Chairs Association. That's the job. But that's not the responsibility that the county chair has. Fundraising is my chief responsibility. My number one priority is to change the way we fundraise in the WCDP and professionalize that operation. $50,000 is not a lofty goal. We've done that before without a professional fundraising program. We can do it again, and we can do better. We can do more. We can have a six-figure fundraising program. We are a county of 500,000 people. You know, based on Karen's numbers and the party's numbers, at least 40% of them are Democrats. You gotta believe that they'll give us 50 cents, and we can raise $200,000. I have the time. But more than the time, I have the vision. More than the vision, I have the experience. And more than the experience, I have an actual plan that lays out how we're going to achieve goals, how we're going to win elections, and how we're going to bring our party to the next level.
Karen, I don't think I have to repeat all those meetings, but will you be able to commit the time required?
I obviously, can you hear this? Okay. I obviously can do that and have been doing that for 2 years. And in some cases, I've actually organized groups of these people. For instance, the SD5 county chairs. I organized that group of people so that we could support our candidates. And we're about to have a mini organization of the people to support the Milam and Burnett County who we need to bring in to elect our House Representative District 2. I do resent a little bit for my opponent saying that I have never managed a campaign. And in particular, I'd like to mention the one campaign that he has left off of his list that he ran was a campaign for Vic Villarreal for Leander City Mayor. I ran the campaign for Iris Davis at that same time. Iris and I managed to be the #2, and we ran against the mayor, and Mr. Villarreal was no longer included. We went to them. We had 60% of the Democrats. We had 60% of the voters voting for 2 Democrats in the first round. We went to Braden, and we said, will you turn your people to help our people, because then we can put in a Democratic mayor. It is important for us to put Democrats in places that are local, in school boards, and in city councils. Mr. Braden refused to do that.
Karen,
Yes?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid you're digressing from the question. Have you were to tell us about the time required.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. So I just have I now am putting in a more than 40-hour week. I will continue to do that. I have the time, I'm ready, and I'm working. And I'm working for you.
Thanks, Karen. I'm going to let you go next this time because this sort of falls in exactly with that question, and it says you don't have a paid staff, yet you must negotiate for and obtain rented spaces, utilities, campaign materials, candidates, etc. Do you have those skills? It's yours, and then we'll go to Grace.
I have already been doing this. The county chair position is very varied. We opened a new office in Williamson County, a year-round office. Our candidates are using it. Our partners are using it. Battleground Texas is using it. We have people from each of the campaigns are currently using it. It's a very important resource, and we're very happy to have it. We haven't had one since 2010. And I've been responsible for doing the negotiations for the phone and the internet and all of the mundane kind of stuff. But what's more important is that I have been mostly involved in making sure that our candidates and that our activists have a place, a home in Williamson County, and that we make sure that the things are there that they need for them to do their work.
Thanks, Karen. Mr. Braden?
Again, absolutely. I hate to give such a simple answer, but I think that this is, again, one of the many responsibilities of not the chair, but of the county party. No county chair should be signing current contracts without the approval of the executive committee. I think every EC member, current, past, and future, would know that. Because the county chair isn't the chief executive of the party. They're the chief facilitator. And that's how I view this role. It's not my job to come in and tell people what to do. It's my job to make sure that our shared vision is achieved. So when it comes to renting an office space, absolutely. You can certainly be the one who goes out and finds the space. But I think that the candidates and the executive committee would all agree that the most appropriate place for an office to be would be in the most winnable district in the county. And I remember the great days, the good old days, those grand days when we had a 3,000 square foot office space. I remember the days of moving Wilco forward when, as research and communications director, I got to come into an office that couldn't fit 6 people with one on the floor in the hallway, but could fit 60 people with 10 phone lines running, everyone at every desk. And we had a professional storefront. I remember the days of us raising $52,000, $47,000, $45,000, having professional paid staff, and a true office that was open and staffed every day of the week by our volunteers and our executive director. When it comes to utilities, I have the heat on in the office. I've been up there. It is cold. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from campaign staffers. They're like, we can't afford $30 for heat. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to say that as county chairman, at least going to ask the EC to turn the heat on. I'm not going to tell you I can do it by myself, but I'll ask for it. We need to have not just a space that has a sign on a business card, on a piece of tape, that says, Democrats are here, maybe call first. We need a banner. We need a billboard. We need a place that we don't just call home, but we call headquarters. We need a place that isn't just our headquarters, but is the center of all Democratic activity throughout the county. And frankly, I think that place should be in Precinct 1, our 49.7, nearly 51% most winnable district in the county that happens to share space with HD 136, and it's right next to 52. We can win elections, but we have to change the way we do our business. And as chair, I can absolutely negotiate your contracts, but I would only do so with the EC's direction in mind. And I think that's a huge change in how we would operate this party.
Braden, I'm going to go to the next question, and you've already alluded to it. What challenge have you encountered in a political campaign that you ran, and how did you resolve it?
Now we're having interview questions. I've worked on a lot of campaigns. Just to set the record straight, I was never Vic Villarreal's campaign manager. But regardless of that, I've been the campaign manager for a lot of people. In Patty Eason's race up in Georgetown, it was a crazy race. It was a small precinct. A few hundred votes was the turnout. A few thousand was the district. And it was intense to get people to vote in a very small city council race. One of the challenges that we came up with is that our candidate wasn't legally allowed to be on the ballot. He couldn't have been on the ballot. He didn't vote in the last primary election. And we had to make a very time-specific, because of how the laws worked out, decision as to whether or not we were going to try to win on a technicality or win just because we were better. We chose the latter. That's a tough call to make, Because it's always easy to go for the low-hanging fruit. And that's what activists want to do. They love to make noise. I like making noise too. But I like winning a little bit more. You know, when I worked on Jamie's campaign, we went up against as a countywide race for an office that nobody had heard of, county attorney. I got $5 says a third of y'all won't even know what that job does. And we changed the way people perceived that race. We changed the way the county party looked at that race because we overcame fundraising barriers. We raised more money than the party did. We overcame communication errors. People had never heard of Jamie Lynn before, but they had very soon because we were in the newspaper, on TV, or on the radio every single week when I was running this campaign. Running the county party as the county chair isn't just about finding an issue and coming up with it, how I want to fix it though. When I look at being county chair, I need to be talking to you, I need to be talking to our precinct chairs, I need to be talking to our committee chairs. We need to be working together because it's not how would I alone fix the problem. It's how will we fix the problem as a team, how do we want to see our party run, and where do we want to go with the message? Because that's truly the most important thing that I can do.
Karen? I'll repeat the question. What challenge have you encountered in a political campaign that you ran, and how did you resolve it?
Since being in Williamson County, I have actually only run 2 campaigns. One of them was for Iris Davis, and the one that Braden worked with Villarreal. And I have worked with Jim Stalber's campaign in 2010, when the cooperative campaign headquarters were over in District 1. It wasn't very helpful for him, so we worked a lot independently and then connected with the coordinated campaign whenever we could. The biggest problems that we ran into were the lack of communication and the lack of coordination between the candidates that were our candidates running for the for offices in 2010. One of the things that I think is absolutely critical for a county chair is the ability to communicate, communicate, communicate. I do that very well. I do not do things independently of approval by the EC. The EC, in fact, said, go find a party office, make sure it's central to all of our Democrats, the people in Liberty Hill, the people in Bartlett, the people in Anderson Mill, and the people in Round Rock need to share the pain of getting to a headquarters. And we did that. And in order to make it run, I do take care of the daily business because I have been asked to by the executive committee to make sure that our offices are run well. We have had a heat problem, and we made a decision with the approval of the finance committee, or at the request of the finance committee, to not start heat that we have to pay $35 a month for every month of the year, even if we only use it in January. So we have space heaters, and it does take a moment for the space heaters to heat up, but they do their job. So that is an interesting little criticism that I'd like to counter. The thing that I find most frustrating is the lack, in the past, has been the lack of coordination. We are well on the track. We've got teams of people working with the commissioners' court candidates to get facts and figures. We've started some oppositional research for that group, and we plan to continue doing that. We have coordinated with other counties to get things going for our Senate district candidate. We are doing research to make sure that we have the information so that his messaging will be the most effective within the counties where he is running. To suggest that I work by myself without the approval and commitment of the executive committee is just a falsehood. I have always worked well with the executive committee, and I will continue to do so.
Thanks, Karen. Next, we're going to go to your experience with the Democratic Party. And this position, the county chair, is the top executive position in the county. So I'd like for you to start with explaining what leadership roles you have assumed during the past 2 years for the Democratic Party. Have you been a committee chair, worked on a committee, precinct chair, attended executive committee meetings? Braden, can I start with you?
Absolutely. You know, I've spent the last 2 years, specific to the question, working on the issues that matter to Democrats. That's how Joe Bowen describes it, at least. And that's how I feel about it, too. There is more in the life of a Democrat than just their county party. And that's just a matter of fact. I know many of you here have been actively involved in the party in some years, and actively involved in issue campaigns in others. And that's okay. I know that many of us have been stalwarts, committee chairs of committee members of every committee the WCDP had running at one time. Was at every EC meeting, every happy hour, every morning coffee, every fundraiser. And then there are times where people just need to take a break, and they need to work on issues that matter to them. Anybody who knows me will tell you that I'm staunchly pro-healthcare. I'm a universal healthcare guy. I'm the guy who's just screaming that I can't believe that we have universal police and universal fire, but we don't have universal healthcare. I've gone off on tangents, gone down that road. Anybody who knows me will tell you that I'm more pro-choice than my wife. And I've gone on tangents down that road. And anybody who knows me will tell you that I'm a committed union man. I'm committed to labor. I'm committed to the idea that our public servants, professional firefighters, police, and EMS deserve to be treated and valued and respected and deserve a fair shake at labor. I think everyone deserves a fair shake at labor. And so, to be honest, the last 2 years, I haven't served on a committee. I haven't been to an EC meeting. But I've been fighting for progressive values on the front lines in Texas. It's not about going to meetings, folks. It's not. We don't win elections by going to meetings. The number of meeting punch cards that you have checked off for the year doesn't put a Democrat in office. The number of committee meetings that you've shown up to every week, week in and week out, hasn't elected Democrats. Hard work elects Democrats. Going out and block walking. I've spent the last 2 years knocking on hundreds of doors, making thousands of phone calls for progressive issues, fighting for labor. And I think that's a fight worth having. I think those are the progressive issues that make up the foundation of our democratic principles. This year I stand with Wendy. This year, we have an opportunity to close the gap for Diane. This year, I'm asking for your vote because I want to take my last 2 years fighting against some of the meanest, most nasty, vulgar city managers and city councils in the world. And I want to take all of those scars and all of those beatings and all of those attacks, personal and otherwise, for my liberal, progressive values, and I want to put that energy to work for you.
Karen, you want to go into your leadership role?
For the last 2 years, obviously, I've been the county chair. And the 6 years before that, or the nearly 6 years before that, I have been an active, completely committed member of the Williamson County Democratic Party. During the time that I was the party secretary, I started to learn about how important it was to coordinate and work with the state party. As the county chair, I have expanded those contacts. I have a lot of support with the Williamson County. Has had a tremendous amount of support that we've been able to bring to the county simply because we communicate with those folks. We make sure that they know what our needs are, and we are graciously happy to be able to have them reach out to us, or when we reached out to them, we wanted to have the coordinated campaign manager. We could not afford it with just our local campaigns, which do not bring in a whole lot of funds initially, and the county party. So the Texas Democratic Party has agreed to pay half of the salary. And that would not happen if it were not for the fact that I have made myself available, that I have worked hard to build relationships and to build bridges between our county party and our state party. We've never had the coordination and the support that we have had prior to this election. I have experience working with, as we mentioned before, you know, there's a lot of organizations. There's state organizations, local organizations, Sun City Democrats, East Williamson County Democrats, there are Battleground Texas, there's Annie's List, there's the State Party, there's Move On. I have worked and made sure that those people know about Williamson County and that they are providing resources to Williamson County. At the same time, we're learning what they have to bring to us that we can take advantage of. So my experience with the Democratic Party is long-lasting. I don't go away. I've been here through the thick and the thin. I've been here when there have been I've been here when there were contested campaigns for county chair before, and it had sometimes had a negative impact on the party, and I'm hoping that this time it will not. Whichever one of us wins this election, all of you need to step up and support the person who wins, because that is how we keep a party going. We build unity. I build unity. I've worked hard to do that, and I'm damn good at it.
Thanks, Karen. These next couple of questions you may have already answered, and so please feel free not to use your entire 3 minutes, because I'd really like to get into your plans for the future. Braden, what have you done to increase Democratic visibility within the county? Have you participated in community festivals, marched in parades, staffed the county booth, or block walked?
I've done all of those things, Jody, and I enjoy doing all those things. I remember when I first got started with the county party. I promise not to use all the time. But I remember when I got started with this county party, and it was the very first time I'd ever been to a neighborhood 4th of July parade. And there's like, literally, it's like out of a commercial. There's kids sitting on the side of the street waving flags. There's this great ambiance of spirit, and we walk with the party. I've walked with my candidates in parades, and I've walked my issues and the issues that matter to Democrats every year for as long as I can remember. But parades and happy hours, they're fun. I love them. They build personal bonds with the same 50, 60 people that we hang out with at the EC meeting, and the same group of people we saw at the last parade, and those same stalwart volunteers. It's great. But that doesn't win elections. Branding, as any media marketing specialist will tell you, branding isn't what closes the deal. Branding is visibility. Branding isn't a call to action. And so, when you talk about that list of things, the number one thing that stands out to me is how many hours have you spent block walking? How many voters have you talked to? I've talked to thousands. I block walk because it's the hard work. I phone bank because it's the tough stuff. But it's what wins elections. Block walking and phone banking side by side with Diana Maldonado is what won her HD 52 in 2008. Going door to door with Patty, talking to voters, is what got her reelected to the Georgetown City Council. Weekend after weekend, phone banking the city of Leander, that's how we put Carl Wake in office. That wasn't a parade. I love parades, don't get me wrong. But that's not what gets us across the finish line. When it comes to activism, to action, I've been there. I'll continue to be there as your county chair, and I'll continue to be there for years to come.
And before you start, I just want to give a cheer for, how about SC50 and Celia Israel? The Republicans thought they had that in the bag, so I think that's a good sign. And Karen, it's, do I need to repeat it?
Would you please?
What have you done to increase Democratic visibility within the county? Participated in community festivals, marching in parades, staffing the county booth, block walking, phone banking.
As the county chair, when I came into office as the county chair, we were at a somewhat of a low point. Our committees were not particularly active. Many of them had rather disintegrated. One of the things that I put as a first effort was to reinvigorate our county committees. One of those committees that's been especially important has been the events committee. You cannot convince people to go to the polls if Democrats to go to the polls if they believe that there are no Democrats in the county. And we all know how the Republicans are very, very fond of saying, well, there are no Democrats in Williamson County. It's just a bald-faced lie. And we have done many things to increase our visibility. And the visibility is just step one. You increase your visibility, and then you have access, you're bringing people in who are saying, what? And to suggest again, let me repeat once more, it is not the same 60 people who come to all of our events. We have hundreds of people or different people who show up. We have over 2,000 people who've asked to get our news updates. We have increased our Facebook likes by 1,200% from 18 months ago. We went from double digits, and now we have reached 1,250, I think, is about where we are at this point. That's a lot of people who are interested in the Williamson County Democratic Party. And I believe that those things are important, because if you don't have people talking to each other, if you do not have people who are willing to bring a friend, and we have kind of a bring a friend campaign going for our happy hours, then you do not have people to work for you, and you cannot move forward on turning out the vote. We know for a fact that if people talk to a person in face, there's a 700% chance increase that that person's going to vote. If we make a phone call and we talk to a person over the phone, there's a 400% increase in the chance that that person is going to vote. By contrast, there's less than 1%, in fact, there's less than 0.001% with TV commercials, just in case you were interested in that. In our circumstances, raising the brand, raising awareness of our party, and including people in our activities. First, we bring them in socially and build camaraderie, and then we put them to work. We've done a really good job of that, and I believe that it's important. We do not denigrate how important that is. When we have anybody here feeling blue? No one? Because we now have easily 40% of the people who have voted for Democratic candidates. It is not going to be that hard for us to move up to that extra 9%, because we've got the work going this time.
I just have to say, I know the happy hours are all over the county, which is fine, but I do know that we always have over 200 people when it's at Hardtails in Georgetown. Now, Battleground Texas says that Texas is not a red state. It's a blue state that doesn't vote. So one of the most important things we can do is to get people registered to vote. And my question is, are you currently a deputy voter registrar authorized to register voters in Williamson County? What steps have you personally taken to increase voter registration? Braden?
Yes, I'm a deputy voter registrar in Williamson County and Travis County. I've been a deputy voter registrar for every election cycle as far as I can remember, and I tend to register people when I'm at Starbucks and at the grocery store and when I'm back at Starbucks again. And if I haven't been to Starbucks, there's a coffee bean nearby, and I try to register voters there as well. What steps have I taken to increase voter registration? You know, professional campaign staff will always tell you that there's two ways to win an election. If you've got the high ground and there's more of your people than there are their people, you need to go get out the vote. And if you're coming from a different location, there's more of them than there are of you, we usually need to change the electorate and register some more voters. You know, I know we're a little early to start talking about plans, Jody, but I want to start talking about plans because I think it's about time. If elected as your county chair, one of the very first things that I look forward to do is changing the way that we talk about voter registration. Step one, every quarter, election year or not, we need to be at the post office getting the list of new people who have moved to Williamson County. We need to be comparing that list up against every quarter who registered to vote in Williamson County recently. And from those two lists, we need to be sharing that information with our precinct chairs saying, hey, Here's 15 people, 20 people who just moved to your precinct. It's time to ID them. And if there are Democrats, we need their name, their email address, and we need to invite them to a social get-together that is not a fundraiser, but an introduction and a welcome. That's action. That's change. That's how we made a difference. That's how we won Carl Wake's race. We registered more voters and we turned those people out. You know, I want to correct something though real quick about Facebook. 1,200% is just not an accurate number. I haven't been on the communications committee and we're working on Facebook analytics right now. The reality is that 18 months ago there were 715 people who liked our Facebook page. Today we have 1,257. That's 75% growth. That's a great job, Karen. That really is. But it's organic growth. We grow 8% every quarter. Every quarter since the Facebook started keeping track of this stuff. That's not growth from work. That's growth because we are the Democrats of Williamson County and Wendy Davis is running in 2014. That's what happens. We can't register voters on Facebook. We can't talk to voters on Facebook. We can't win elections with likes. I don't get to trade those in for votes. When we go out and talk about voter registration, we need to be talking about who's new, are they with us, and welcoming them to the party. That's the difference.
Karen asks the question, are you currently a deputy voter registrar, and what steps have you personally taken to increase registration?
I am a deputy voter registrar. I have been since 2007. I have organized voter registration drives. We used to think that we followed the state national party telling us that Walmart's was the place you should go if you want to find Democrats. And we spent 12 hours in the hot sun in front of the wall, the white wall with the sun blasting down on us, running a 12-hour voter registration drive, only to find out that 51% of the people we registered were Republicans. So now we do it differently. We make sure that we go to venues where we know Democrats are likely to turn out. When we go to movie theaters, we make sure they're playing a movie that Democrats are like. And when they're playing movies that Democrats are less likely to turn out for, we make sure our voter registrars aren't there. We target where our voter projects are happening, much like the Battleground Texas people are doing. And I may be mistaken about the 18 months, but I do know that when I became the county chair, there were only 76 people who were listed as likes for the Williamson County's Facebook page, and I apologize if I've made a mistake there. The things that we need to do, I have worked with precinct chairs to teach them how to do block walking and map their precincts. I have worked with precinct chairs where we're setting ourselves up in partnerships because it's very lonely to go out alone. And initially, you may need to go out with a partner to get other people who are interested in what you're doing because you're talking to them to build up your own little group that you can work in your own precinct. Every time we go to a place where we're doing block walkings, I do things like knock, knock, knock. My name's Karen Carter. I'm a volunteer with the Democratic Party. You got any Democrats here? And if they say yes, then we double check to make sure they're registered to vote. And now, because of the outrageous voter ID laws, we have to also make sure that their registration matches their licenses or whatever form of valid ID that they may have to bring to the polling place to make sure that the names match, to make sure that the addresses match, and that we can update them. And that becomes an important part of what a road registrar does these days. We also are doing things to increase voter turnout. And are we going to do a voter turnout kind of a question? Maybe.
Maybe if we get there. I'm trying to get us there. But one thing I'd like to say is when you become a deputy voter registrar, you are in essence a state elections official. And so you cannot refuse to register Republicans. You have, you have to do both. So that's why Karen was alluding that maybe Walmart wasn't the best place because they Republicans.
In Williamson County, no place to do
Oh, in Williamson County, I stand corrected. What do you see as the strengths of the Williamson County Democratic Party? And what do you think can be improved? And keep it sweet. Karen, please.
The strength of the Williamson County Democratic Party has become our unity. The strength of the Democratic Party in Williamson County has become our ability to work with our Democratic organizations within our county. The strength of the Williamson County Democratic Party is the enthusiasm we have been building, and the ability to bring in more and more volunteers to work for our candidates, to work for our party, and to coordinate efforts. For example, when we need to have some things that all of the candidates will need, like where do we put our signs? We've got a committee of people working on riding around the county, finding places that it looks like would be a good place to find a sign, and we're using the tax records to find out who owns that piece of property, and then we're contacting those people to say, can we put Democratic Party signs there? And it's really amazing because last time we did it, we used places that were recommended to us by people who had done signs for us before, and it turns out that our signs were being stolen, and we didn't know if it was because the people who owned the property took them down, because opponents took it down, or because somebody who was just irritated with Democrats took them down. This time we're going to know that every place that we put a sign, we're going to have permission from the person to place Democratic signs. So this is just like a little tiny thing. There are dozens and dozens of well, they require a lot of effort, but they bring it and they require volunteers that are committed. But we have dozens and dozens of those things, and we are very, very systematically working through those steps that we need to do to share the pain of things that work for all of our candidates. And we are setting up groups of people who are providing us with information, who've run before, who are actively involved in county affairs and have been for a long time to help build the messaging. I guess I just need to say that the strength of our party is that we are inclusive. We have conservative Democrats, we have moderate Democrats, and we have progressive Democrats. I personally fit into the category of being a progressive Democrat, but I will tell you that no county chairperson and no party has the right to remove someone because they don't fit a litmus test. That's the problem with the Republican Party. In Williamson County, we do not throw away a single Democratic vote, and we know that conservatives vote for our candidates, and we make sure that there's a place for them. We know that moderates vote for our candidates, and we make sure there's a place for them. And we know that progressives vote for our candidates, and we work hard to keep them.
Braden, what do you see as the strengths of the Williamson County Democrats, and what can be improved?
You're the strength of the Williamson County Democratic Party. Each and every one of you. Every Democrat in this county is the strength of our party. We're a party of all of us. We're not an organization of one person or a group of committee chairs or a group of vice chairs or who showed up at the last EC meeting. We as a community, we are the strength of this party. And we've been through some great times, and we've been through some tough times together. The strength of our party is the fact that we have brave men, brave women who have stepped up and said they're not going to take it anymore, and they're not going to allow Republicans to go off on tangents that destroy people's morals, their values, and their sense of humanity. That's the strength of our party. What is the weakness of our party? Feeling blue, 40% and growing. I don't feel blue. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm fired up and ready to go. I'm thinking that I'm a Democrat. I'm ready to fight for our democratic values, but I'm not depressed about it. I've never been depressed to be a Democrat in Texas or in Williamson County or anywhere. We need to start thinking like winners and talking like winners. It's not okay to go out there and say, well, some of our Democratic candidates have an uphill battle. At least a few of the races should be competitive. That's a weakness of our party. It's not okay to say, well, some candidates face longer odds than others. That's a weakness of our party. The strength of our party is that people show up to events like this, that people show up to meetings like the Sun City Democrats, like REC meeting, like John Busey's chili fundraiser, because they don't think that, maybe it's competitive. They know John can win, and they know he should win, because they know he's the right guy for the job. That's the strength of our party, is our belief in our ideals, in our belief in our candidates, and our faith that with hard work, clear minds, and full hearts, that we can be victorious. The weakness, though, why I'm running for chair, is because we've got to play smarter ball. We've got to be more strategic. We need to think, talk, and act like winners. Election year and off year. When we change that, we won't be hearing about Democrats whispering that they met another Democrat at the Walmart. We'll be hearing Democrats screaming that they're Democrats too, and they're ready to work together to win elections.
Thank you. Now we're going to get into the future, and you guys surprised me. You came up with about an hour's worth of questions from the floor, so we're going to have to keep moving. In running the Williamson County Coordinated Campaign Effort in 2014, you both, I think, alluded to that. But how do you balance your resources and volunteers across our abundance of local candidates? Karen? Well, I was told I was choosing Braden's first, so I've been choosing him too many times to go first. So, yeah, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, let myself get distracted. The main point of this one is...
How do you balance, and I'm talking mainly about the coordinated campaign effort for 2014 and actually for 2016. How do you balance your resources and your volunteers across the abundance, thank goodness, of local candidates? I think you could probably run that. You were talking about get out the vote earlier. I think that would probably fit right in with that.
We have, and it is an interesting and a happy problem to have, that we have more candidates than we've had since the late 1990s. So we are going to have to figure out ways to make the candidates' resources that they need to win available to them. Some of that means that we need to continue in our efforts to increase the party base. Some of that means that we need to carefully attend and have a coordinator who will be able to make sure that everybody knows what everyone else is doing. So that when we have people who are willing to do block walking, we make sure that we don't have block walkers for Louis Minor and block walkers for John Busey and block walkers for Joel working in the same neighborhood, knocking on the same doors in the same weekend. We need to spread out the efforts of our volunteers to make sure that each of the candidates is getting adequate cover, and that it's especially important that we're identifying more and more Democrats. We need to make sure that some of the tasks that are shared get handled as a group, so that when we are doing signs, when we are doing block walking, when we are handing out push cards, that we make sure that more than one push card gets handed out at each door knock, that we have push cards for every single candidate available to be presented to our voters. It is difficult to balance the people who are going to be there. We already have the party office open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day of the week. But the office actually has more people there all the other times because of the the active usage of the party office. So we need to make sure that we share our resources for volunteers, that we share our resources for printing, that we share our resources for enabling everyone coming into the party headquarters to be able to hook up to the Wi-Fi. There's tons and tons of little things that will benefit all of the candidates, and we need to make sure that we maximize that. And we also need to make sure that we carefully work to bring individual candidates to commit to specific individual volunteers to commit to specific campaigns as well. It's a difficult problem. It's a wonderful problem to have because we have so many candidates. And we're looking forward to solving those problems, and we've made some good effort at doing that already. So I hope that if you're not volunteering yet, you need to get involved and come and join us.
Thanks, Karen. Braden, how do you balance resources and volunteers across the local candidate?
You know, every time there's a house on fire, we never have enough people there. For some reason, city councils just don't seem to send enough guys and women and teams and trucks to every single fire. We're always balancing resources. That's something that I do professionally in highly critical stress situations. But at the party level, this is easy. I gotta disagree a little bit. I don't think that this is a hard thing, because one of the most important things you have to remember, they're volunteers. And it's very difficult to tell a volunteer who they're going to work for. Anybody who was around in 2008, anybody who was around in 2012, anybody who's been around some of these past campaigns with these rock star candidates that we've been bringing out, from the Clinton-Obama primary all the way down through Diana Maldonado in the general, Obama again in 2012. I mean, you don't tell a volunteer who has a fire burning inside of them that has brought them up to go work for free, knocking on people's doors to talk to them about politics. Oh, I apologize, I need your resources allocated over here. It doesn't work. What we need to be doing is not talking about resource allocation. It's not about telling people where to go. We need to grow the pot. I think we're looking at the problem backwards. You're telling me that how do we balance our limited resources? I want to talk to you about how are we going to get more? How are we going to get more volunteers? Now, I don't want to tell a volunteer who wants to work for John Busey that, hey buddy, I'm sorry, but Louis called it this weekend and you can't go there. That's not a good plan. The reality is we want to be talking about how can we get more volunteers into the party? Where are the young people at? Where's the diversity at? Where are all of the other people that we, where's the future of our party? That will fix the problem, Jody. I want too many volunteers. I ain't got enough room on the sheet for them. And when it comes to coordination, I helped work intensely in the coordinated campaign, organizing big campaigns and small, working together. We need shared calendars. We need technology. We haven't talked about technology yet. And I realize I am the iPhone age, coming around in the internet generation, going on and on about mobile web, but why aren't we using the Texas Van mobile app to log in and update voter information on the spot? Why aren't we copying Travis County with maps and lists of who isn't registered door to door in your neighborhood that you can print? Why aren't we doing it smarter? It's not just about allocating our resources. Let's grow our resources and let's be the technical geniuses that we can be in 2014.
Your answer goes right into my next question. But I do want to say, it's hard to get Van. I have begged through Karen, through Battleground, Texas, I've begged for access to Van, and
I will
been
get you
told
Van, Jody.
no. So you need to look into that also. But what is your strategy for attracting a more diverse membership base for the Williamson County Democrats, particularly younger voters, women, minorities, LGBT? Can you give us your strategy for that? Not just, yes, we need to have more strategy.
You can't just sit up here and talk about what you want to have happen. You have to have a plan for it. I think to earn your vote, to earn your trust, we need to talk plans. We need to talk specifics. Why are there young Republican clubs in these high schools? Dozens of high schools. Where are the young Democrat clubs? I know that we have young families out there who are worried about education, who can't afford their health care, who are worried about where their next job check is going to come from. Why aren't we reaching out to them? I want to make sure that we harness young people that were at the colleges, that we're working to get CDA clubs in every college campus here in Williamson County. The Southwestern Dems are great. They're doing a great job there. But we've got more than one college campus here. We have people in nursing school right now at the college that was built because of Deanna Maldonado. Where's their CDA club? We've got people going to ACC right now. Where's their Young Dems club? We've got kids in high school. Did you know that Texas law states that twice a year you can register 17 and a half and 18-year-olds in high school? Register them to vote. Where are we? Where are we? Let's change those things. When you talk about diversity, I'm sorry, but everybody remembers when they meet me. And it's not because I've got an amazing personality. It's because I'm Asian, and I'm the only young Asian person all of y'all have seen at one of these events. I know it. Where's everybody else? Why aren't we reaching out to them? Our LGBT community. What happened to the Stonewall Democrats in Williamson County? Why aren't we pushing our principles to the front? This is not the year to work the crossover vote. This is the year to stick true to our principles, to our ideals, to what makes us Democrats. Whether you're here for Karen, or you're here for me, or you're just not quite sure yet, you're all Democrats. Why aren't we working those ideals? My plan? I want to go to high schools and find young Democrats. I want to go to PTA meetings and find young Democrats. I want to make sure that we're in school board meetings talking about Democratic issues. I want to make sure that our message is not the WCDP works to elect Democrats. I want to make sure our message reaches the heart, that talks about healthcare, education, immigration, jobs, taxes, the issues that matter to you. And we're in Williamson County, so let's talk about corruption in the county courthouse while we're at it.
Karen, we'd like your strategy for attracting a more diverse membership base.
Well, actually, some of this has already begun. We have been reaching out to the high schools. We have 2 high schools that have nascent young democratic organizations in process. Every year that we've had an election, I and several other educators have gone to every high school in Williamson County to register high school students who are going to be 18 years old in time to vote in the upcoming election. This is not a new strategy for us. We've been doing it for a long time. And I think that accounts for why some of our youth are looking around at what their parents, their Republican parents, are saying that they should do and going, yeah, I'm not so sure. Because we've been involved in working with the high schools extensively. Our executive committee is well represented by members of the gay, lesbian, transgender, and bisexual community. We have people who are precinct chairs, and we have people who are working for us and working with us, and I think that to suggest that we have not engaged that group of people and encouraged that group of people is a little bit misleading. I also want to mention that when Braden is denigrating our Are You Feeling Blue campaign, he is purposely distorting a very fun and funny campaign. We are turning Wilco blue, and we are feeling damn blue. We're feeling blue to the core. Not because we're depressed, but because we are ready to become the Democratic Party power in this county. That we will take over where the Republicans have been elected to every local official, every local position for over 2 decades. It's time for us to turn it around, and this year we're going to do it. We've got great candidates, and we are going to turn Wilco blue. We are feeling blue.
I think we can all applaud for that, the turning Texas blue. I think everyone's been appalled by, and secretly cheered the state of the Republican Party. It's splintering, it's eating itself, I mean, 4 rebuttals to the State of the Union. I think that kind of shows where they are. I think that cannot happen in the Williamson County Democratic Party. And so I would like to know what steps you can take to ensure unity within this voluntary organization. Who went first last? Okay, Braden, you want to go?
Absolutely. I was a Hillary supporter in 2008. I know what it's like to build unity after an election. The reality is that no one's here for just one of us. I don't think so. I don't think anybody's here just because I'm running. I don't think any of y'all are here this morning just because Karen's running. Y'all are here because you're Democrats. I've made it very clear from the very beginning that this is not a race about I don't like Karen or Karen doesn't like me. This is a race about shared goals. She wants to win just as hard as I do. We just have different ways of doing it. I've got a different plan. I think my plan's better. I think my plan's bigger. I think that I have but you know what? The goals are still the same. So when we talk about unity, Karen's put out some ideas and obviously has a wealth of academia experience. I want to work with that. I think that I put out some pretty good ideas. I think I have some great plans. And I hope that if Karen wins, that we'll work together. We've worked together before, Karen and I have. Me and Karen have disagreed before. And we've always come back together to work to elect our candidates. That's what we do. We aren't here for a person. Everybody loves Louis. But you know what? Minor. But you know what the reality is? We're not just here for Louis. Everybody loves John. Everybody loves Tom. We love these individuals who represent our ideals. But we're here for our party. We are here for our principles. So unity, I hope no one leaves. I've reached out to Karen's campaign manager, Terry Cook, because she's amazing. We all know that. We should give a round of applause to Terry Cook because she is amazing. She does great work. We work together, regardless of what happens on March 4th. And I think we both can 100% agree about that.
Thank you. Karen? What steps can you take to ensure unity within a voluntary organization?
Many of the steps that we need to take to ensure unity in a volunteer organization, I believe that we have made great progress in the last 2 years, and we are continuing to make progress daily. I do have an interesting anecdote that suggests that maybe we aren't as far along as we need to be to ensure unity. At the Veterans Day parade that happened in Cedar Park recently, we had a group of pro-life Democrats. Pro-life Democrats exist. They're a very small group, but they exist. And they contacted me and said, hey, we want to march in the parade with you. The county chair has no right or ability, well, just no right to tell any Democrat that they cannot march with us. So I contacted the 151 of my best friends and said, look, these guys are coming. Come to the parade. Come as your favorite Democratic issue. You know, the things that you are willing to support. And we will show that Williamson County that Democrats in Williamson County are inclusive. We do not have a litmus test in order to be a Democrat in Williamson County. We cannot afford to throw away a vote. I got two objections, I got two feedbacks from people who disagree that we should not allow anyone who is pro-life to march in a parade with us. Again, I disagree. They have a right to their opinions. There is a huge party platform. There is something in the party platform that almost all of us disagrees with. What is real important is that those folks are going to vote for our candidates. Even though they disagree on that one issue, they are very socially minded people. They support they support the economic fairness. They support the importance of making sure that people have food, making sure that civil rights are protected, making sure that gender parity is reached. They believe in those things, and for the one issue that they disagree with us, they are not going to abandon us, that they're going to be with us at the polling places. And we need to make sure that there is a place for everyone in the Williamson County Democratic Party, for conservatives, for moderates, for progressives. It is a problem with the Republican Party that they have litmus tests, and if you do not accept all of the litmus tests, if you do not pass all the litmus tests, then you're kicked out of the party. In 2009, the former...
Okay, now I'm going to start with questions from the audience. And the first one has a statement. Our office space does not meet our current needs. Phone banking is limited, only a few people can work at a time, and trying to have a meeting with more than 18 people is uncomfortable at best. What have you done to improve this unacceptable situation? And I'm going to go into a part 2 on that one. Someone asks, where is District 1 located that Braden wants to move the WCDP office? So
Start with me to done.
Okay. Yeah.
To start off, District 1 mainly centers around Round Rock. It works up from Anderson Mill, goes all the way out to just the edge of Hutto. What have I done? I decided to run for county chair to change the way we do business in Williamson County. You know, one of the things, you know, and this is just a fundamental difference in how me and Karen think. Karen believes that we're on the path to exceed WCDP fundraising goals, all previous goals. Under her tenure, fundraising's dropped. We're raising funds right now in the same way we did pre-Obama. The numbers that we raised during my tenure with Moving Loco Forward, the numbers we raised with Deanna Maldonado, top $50,000. Last year, we put together 20. It's a great job. It's excellent work. But it's not how you win elections. What would I need to change then? It starts very simply with whose responsibility is fundraising. It's the county chair's job. I don't know about y'all, but we've all gotten a sales pitch call before. It goes something to the effect of, ring, ring, hi, I'm here for money, and this is who I'm representing. And oftentimes we'll ask the person on the other line, well, who are you? I'm a volunteer. Oh, who are you? I'm an employee. Compare that to when you get a phone call from the chair of the county party that says, I'm reaching out today to 100 voters. I'm asking each one of you to give $50 because we need to raise $5,000 to fund our Vote by Mail program. And that's the difference. Whether that money goes to the Vote by Mail program or goes to office space, it starts with fundraising.
Braden, the question was regarding the Williamson County Democratic Party office.
And it needs to be bigger. And we need more money to do that. I mean, and that's the reality, Jody. We talk about this office. I can't move the furniture in there and change the space-time continuum to make the place bigger. It just doesn't work. It's not big enough. 500,000 people in Williamson County. At least 200,000 of them are Democrats. We can't put them in 300, 400, 500 square feet of space. It just doesn't work. We have to change that. And to change the party, you can't say, well, we only have so much money. You have to change the resources.
And I think we all agree we need a bigger office. I think the question was how would you start? What?
Fundraising.
Oh.
Every day, on the phone, me calling people, not just in Williamson County, not just the same people. I'm not going to go to the list of the person who gave me $20 last month and ask them for 14 more cents this month. We have to think bigger. And fundraising is absolutely where it starts.
Thank you. Karen?
I need to clarify something. Braden is saying that we have raised $50,000 during Deanna's tenure. In fact, we did not raise $50,000 for the party. We did raise money for candidates that were hired. The Williamson County Democratic Party has never even reach the point of 25,000, which is required, at which point we are required to file IRS papers. We've never reached that point. We are going to double that this year. We are on track to raise more money than we have ever raised before for the party. So to suggest otherwise is inaccurate. Our offices do need to be larger, but at the time, finding space that is central and affordable is problematic. And we deal with that by making sure that we have larger groups meeting in other locations. Not everything has to be done in the Williamson County Democratic Party headquarters. We just need to have the ability there, a centralized location where we figure out what we're doing next and where we're going next. I would like to have a larger party headquarters, and we were fortunate for a short period of time to have a huge space. We got it at a great discount because the people didn't know who owned it that we were getting it for such a great small amount of money. And now that the economy has improved, thank God, we will find it very difficult to get 1,000 square feet of party space for something that we can come anywhere near to affording, because we need to spend more money on our candidates, campaigns. We need to spend more money on supporting our volunteers. We need to have the funds available to do the hard work to get candidates elected. And we have made decisions to keep our costs down as much as possible. I have done that. Our executive committee has done that. We have all approved of that, and it is a wise decision. So we figure out how to work around it. We have our monthly meetings in a location that is in Round Rock. And everybody knows where it is, and it is in that area where most of the Democrats he's talking about are located. We have made sure that we have other locations. We've met in restaurants, we have met in people's homes. When we have larger groups of people who need to work, we find the space to do it. It does not all have to be done in the party headquarters.
Okay, I like this question. If someone donated $1 million to the Williamson County Democratic Party, how best would you use that money? Karen?
Am I allowed to go to Hawaii with you?
You don't have to get to the penny.
I think that this money would be best used to make sure that we were able to create forums for our candidates to get out their individual messages, that we could have such a good time increasing the amount of research that is available, to have some paid people who would do oppositional research, to have some paid people who will be able to keep the party office open every day of the week for 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 or whatever hours we choose. We don't have that luxury right now, but we are working toward, we have been very successful getting our volunteers to help us with that. But it would be nice to be able to pay those volunteers. $1 million would go a long way. And I think it could take me to, couldn't I just go to some sort
Don't
of...
go there.
Huh?
No, Karen, you can't go to Hawaii.
Well, that'd be great to have an extra $1 million. You know, we all think about what we could do with $1 million. We could split it up and we could have $100,000 for the next 10 years. We could invest it and get a 7-8% safe return and use that money to fund our party for generations. We could give money to candidates who need it. We could reach out in communications and whatnot. I love the vision of the question. But let's talk reality. What can we do with an extra $8,000? Just ask yourself that for just a moment. What can we do with something far more reasonable? What could we do as the Williamson County Democratic Party with $8,000? We could do a lot. $8,000, I could reach 9,558 people with the TDP's Vote by Mail program. You can make 270,000 robocalls, polling people, getting the information, and sharing with them the democratic values. You can play block walkers. President Obama's $10.10 raised the minimum wage, and we could reach 12,000 voters door to door. $8,000 could do a lot. Instead, we had an infrastructure failure, and $8,125 washed down the drain in filing fees. Filing fees? Our candidates will never see those filing fees again. And why? Why did we lose $8,000? Why did Louis give up $3,000? Why did Tom give up $1,200? Why did we lose thousands? $8,000? Because we couldn't find 500 people to sign their name who have to be registered voters. That's how that works here, folks. When you run for office, you need 500 signatures or thousands of dollars. The Democratic Party is the infrastructure of everything that we do. You want to get Democrats elected? Let's not talk about millions of dollars. Let's find 500 voters, sign their name on a petition, and let's save the money to win elections. I would love to have $1 million. But the reality is that we need a party who can turn out 1,000 people to sign their name on a petition for Louis Minor, 1,000 people to sign their name on a petition for John Busey, 1,000 people to sign a petition for Tom and Joel and Chris. Our candidates deserve better from this party. I can't bring you $1 million contribution, but I can put together the infrastructure where our candidates won't be throwing away thousands of dollars on fees that they never needed to pay. That's a plan. That's a way to win elections.
This next question has to do with the actual Williamson County Democratic Party governing process. In the past 2 months, there have been a rapid formation of new committees. For instance, membership, leadership, that either haven't met or haven't yet done any work. What will you do to see that these committees are productive and transparent? Whose turn is it? Braden.
I think I went second last time. I love committees. I truly do. Committees don't win elections either, though. But doing committees right will, and it can make a difference. So let's talk about our strategic plan for just a moment, because that's where a lot of these new committees come from. We had a strategic plan completed towards the middle to the end of last year. It was done. It was out there. It was adopted by the EC. And honestly, folks, it's incredible. You know, we brought in Karen Welcome, who helped with the strategic plan. You know, in 2010, when I was with Moving Will Go Forward, we brought her in for the first time. And she helped us craft a great strategic plan for the party then, when we had benefactors like Robert Jones and Moving Will Go Forward. The committee did a great job last year putting together a plan. It took 5 months for the first line, A1, to be implemented at an EC meeting. Now, there were EC meetings between when the plan was completed, and when we finally got around to putting together a committee. That can't happen. It can't happen any year, but it certainly can't happen in an election year. When I talk about technology and I talk about improving communication, I look at our party as kind of behind the times. Listserv emails, folks, is just like 1995 kind of stuff. It's just not how people talk anymore. We need to get away from hundreds of emails. Anyone who's served on a committee knows how many emails you get. If you've served on 2 committees, you know how easy it is to get confused. We need a home on the internet where we can communicate within the party, a forum for communication. I have a plan put together where we'll be able to end our $47 a month fee right now that we pay for email service and convert that into a fully functional, modern-day, union-owned website that will provide us a forum, unlimited email blasts, but even better than that, text messages to every Democrat. Text messages. That's like some 1998 stuff. We need to be there now. How do we get these committees going? Maybe we should text them. I mean, how many of y'all get a text message and remember something? We need to get these committees going. Maybe they need some education. Where's our training program? Congratulations, you're a committee member. There you go. Go there forth. We can't do that anymore. We need a mentorship program. Congratulations, you're a precinct chair. I talked to more than a few precinct chairs who said, well, I'm a precinct chair, but I don't know what to do now. Where's our precinct chair packet? It's in our strategic plan. We have that. Why doesn't every precinct chair have a map, a list of voters, a how-to guide, a who to talk to? And why aren't we saving their information in a diary and passing that on to the next generation? We cannot rebuild this party every 2 years. We owe better to this county.
Well, I know there is precinct chair training because I had an argument with Karen because she scheduled it for the morning of the Sun City Democrats meeting. So there's been at least one. Karen, shall I repeat the question?
Yes.
The new committees and how do you get them to get busy and remain transparent?
Okay, the membership committee was suggested in the strategic plan, and it is true that we have not yet figured out how to make that, even figuring out what that committee is supposed to do. It has been difficult, and we have some people who are working on it. We have people who agreed to be chairs and then decided, well, I don't know, this is a little bit of a big problem that I can't quite handle. So we are working on it. In the meantime, we have been distracted by the fact that we needed to, this committee was proposed at the, in the strategic plan in which we approved in the summertime. So we were immediately left from there to recruit candidates. As you know, we've done a great job of recruiting candidates. Our party is one of the parties that takes the philosophy, we do not put somebody on the ballot just to have a name on the ballot. We try to find people to put on the ballot who actually have a chance to win. And all of our candidates have a chance to win. They are all working hard to win, and we are going to continue working hard to enable that. We've also planning a primary election. As you know, that's coming up here in a couple of weeks, starting in a couple of weeks, and we have a county convention to plan. We have been able, in our fundraising process, to bring new people in. We have, by increasing our speaker program for the monthly meetings, been able to bring new people in. I think that there are things that we can do to make things work better, and I would be very happy to have people come in and working and contributing their ideas. I do find it interesting that we have two candidates here, one of them who has been working and working and working, and one of them who has been absent for a while and now says he has great ideas. Why hasn't he come and participated prior to becoming county chair? Where has he been when he could be working with the committees, when he could be working with fundraising, when he could be working with building the membership? I'm here, I'm going to stay here, no matter what the outcome of the election is, because I am a Democrat who is committed to our party, to our candidates, and to our success.
Well, Karen, you've answered my next question. If you do not win as chair, will you still work for and with the Williamson County Democratic Party?
Absolutely.
You want to elaborate on that?
I will, and I would also like to point out that since this gives me an opportunity, yes, I will. But I want to mention one thing that has happened at every contested campaign for county chair that we've had since 2006. Each time we have a contested campaign, there have been rumors that have come around the issue of whether the county chair candidates are strong enough on pro-choice. And I have had my commitment to pro-choice questioned in this particular campaign. And I would like to point out to you that I can put my pro-choice bona fides against any person in this room, and I'm sure that I would equal any person's commitment and background to make sure that that's where my heart is. But you have to, and that's where I will work, but I'm not going to throw away a Democratic vote in order to be able to say, I believe this and you should believe it too. We do not do that in the Democratic Party.
Braden? Shall I repeat the question?
No, I remember the question, Jody. Absolutely, I'll keep you stay around. The reality is that I never left. I may not have been at every committee meeting where Karen was at, or I may not have been at every EC meeting. That's a fact. But I never left the values that make this party special. I never left the county. I never stopped keeping tabs on all y'all. I never stopped reading every single email that came out from the party and following what the party was doing. No matter what happens on March 4th, we have serious business to do in 2014. And we need serious people with good ideas, who are ready to change things, who are ready to work smarter, ready to capitalize on technology. My commitment to that, my commitment to you, doesn't change on March 4th, regardless of what happens. But when we talk about the things that have been said, I've heard the things that have been said. Everyone goes back and forth. The reality is that I don't question Karen's pro-choice bona fides more than I think anyone else in this room would. I know Karen's pro-choice. Karen knows I'm pro-choice. That's not an issue. The issue at hand is not who stands on this progressive issue, who stands on that issue. That's not the point either. The point is who's best prepared to lead this party in 2014. You know, I'm honored to be endorsed by Cindy Nolan. Y'all remember that huge rally last weekend at the Capitol, Stand with Texas Women rally? We remember that, right? We remember that those rallies are the reason why Wendy Davis was promoted to the national spotlight, why we've got great candidates on our ticket, top and bottom. Cindy Nolan's organization, FAWN, Faith Action for Women Group, has endorsed me for county chair of the Williamson County Democratic Party because she says, and I quote, Braden is the right candidate for women, proven to stand on the side of women. That doesn't mean that Karen doesn't stand on the side of women. That doesn't take anything away from Karen's reputation. It just means that a professional knows and has made their choice in this election. I'm honored to have the support and endorsement of professionals from the TDP on down to long-standing vice chairs and members of this party. That's not because those people don't respect Karen as a Democrat, as a volunteer, or as an activist. But it's because there's a choice in 2014 to make. And it's how do we want to look forward in this party? The past cannot be our blueprint. The things that we're doing will not win elections alone. We have to change things. We have to bring new ideas in, and we have to raise the bar. And that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm honored to be supported by so many different individuals.
I'd like to thank everybody in the audience for your questions. We got most of them, and I think the ones we didn't get were covered either in answers or other questions. But since our video is about to turn off, we're going to go ahead and have closing statements, and Karen Carter is going to go first, and then Braden. And we'd like to ask you not to leave, please, during this time. Thank you very much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and do this part now. It's very important to vote in the primary, and not just for county chair. This is the only time you'll get to vote on the county chair. But we should all vote for our Democratic candidates. And it's probably my own paranoia, but I just have, I'm afraid that the Republicans are going to run a big campaign for Wendy Davis's opponent. And, you know, if she becomes the if he becomes the primary winner, then we won't have Wendy as a candidate. So get out there and vote. Our candidates have literature on the front table with a lot more information about them than we've been able to cover here, so I hope you will pick that up. And I think the candidates are going to remain afterwards for a time in case you want to have a one-on-one question with them, but we do have to be out of this room shortly. So, once again, Karen Carter.
There are some There are differences between Braden and me, and one of them is that I have continuously been involved with the Williamson County Democratic Party since 2006. Braden has claimed that he has been involved with the party too. He has been involved with candidates. He was appointed to be a precinct chair in 2008, and he resigned in February of 2010. he resigned, he had already not attended any of the EC meetings between July of 2009 and February of 2010 when he finally resigned to let someone else come. He came to a party meeting in October of 2010 and said, "It's time for me to get back involved with the party. I want to be appointed precinct chair." Another person, Barbara Bob, was appointed in his stead, and he never came back until November of 2011 when he came to let us know that he was going to be running against me. I am committed to this party. I have worked hard for this party, and I am able to make this party continue to grow. The denigration about me being an academic is unfair. I've been involved in campaigns since 1968. I have worked with lots of political campaigns, ones that have to do with issues such as AIDS and how one gets health departments to handle the issue. This was early on with the AIDS crisis. And I have worked with candidates, and I have worked with students who have been working with candidates. I've worked with candidates since I've been here. But more important, I have figured out how, as the county chair, to coordinate all of the things that need to be coordinated. Being a county chair is not just being able to run a campaign. That's just a very isolated piece of it. And we need to make sure we have a county chair who has the experience of working with the Democratic Party, both county and state, to make sure that we keep our party on the track that we've been going into it. So I not only have the intellectual knowledge of the requirements of the Ethics Commission, the SOS, the Texas Democratic Party, and the legal statutes under which the state makes us work. But I have experiential knowledge, which affords me the expediency with which I am able to take quick steps to take care of our party business. I have operational experience with every committee in the Williamson County Democratic Party. I'm real familiar with the bylaws and many of those established within the Texas Democratic Party. I am committed to the ideals, to the goals, and the dreams of the Democratic Party, and to all of the people who share in them. In closing, I encourage you to join me in this journey. Join our working committees. Join our county events. Join us in engaging people to vote. Stick with me as the county chair of the Williamson County Democratic Party. Together, we can best support our county and statewide candidates.
Thanks, Chairman Braden.
In closing, I want to thank you all for coming out today. I hope that you've been able to pay attention to how we've answered your questions, to how we've managed our time, to how we take care of sticking to the point. You know, 2014 is an important year for Texas Democrats. It's important because we've got great candidates at the top of the ticket, and we have great candidates running here in Williamson County. It's important because these candidates deserve a county chair who's ready, not just to work harder than ever, not to work the same plan as before, but who's ready to lead a team of Democrats, smarter, with bigger visions. We need to change the character of our party and not repeat the mistakes of 2012. I've been endorsed by the Deputy Director of the Texas Democratic Party, former Deputy Director Brian Pendleton. I've been endorsed by Stand With Texas women's groups. I've been endorsed by professionals, members of our party, stakeholders in the county, stakeholders in Democratic politics. They're not saying those things because we're friends. They're saying those things because they know that I have the vision, the experience, and the leadership to be able to execute these goals. You know, we need to change things here. We can't be squandering $8,000 in filing fees. That's not going to work. We need to stick to our core values. We need to stick to what makes us Democrats. And we need to build the energy and the enthusiasm of this party. We can't be squandering money. We can't be giving up hundreds of dollars on custom M&Ms for a fundraiser. That doesn't bring us forward. That's not a message. That's not how we do things. You know, funding our enemies, giving money to companies that actively are seeking to destroy us like Hobby Lobby is not where your donation should be going. We have to be true to our progressive principles. The Democrats of this county deserve it, and once we change those things, our donations will increase. People will want to support our cause because they'll see that we're truly ready to lead. You know, I'm not scared of public speaking. I've been educated, I've been experienced, and I'm humbly here standing before you asking for your vote. But I'm also proudly before you with my history of electing Patty Eason back to her city council seat here in Williamson County, with my record of getting Carl Wake elected to the Leander City Council, replacing a Republican, with my hard work for Jamie Lynn, with moving Wilco forward with Deanna Maldonado, my work with the TDP, my work with Democratic activists and progressive organizations. Like Joe Lowen said, I've been doing the work that's important to Democrats, and I'm here to do the work that's important to you. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for taking this beautiful morning and coming out to spend it with us. I want to thank Karen for her time as well this morning, and thank Sun City for organizing this great forum. I'm Braden, and I'm asking for your vote. Together, we'll win elections.
Thank you. I'd like to personally thank Braden Frame and Karen K. Carter, their campaign managers, Jessica Stemco and Terry Cook, for working with me on this. They graciously agreed to follow all my rules, which might have seemed a bit silly, but I think we did cram a lot into these 2 hours. So I think you're both excellent candidates for this position. And thank you, everyone, for coming.